Welcome to the first episode of Gallmeister podcast. Today we are here to talk about literature, creative writing, and great stories. We are delighted to launch this new project with two storytellers we deeply admire. First, joining us from Salt Lake City is Gabriel Tallent. Hello, Gabriel, and thank you so much for being with us today.
I'm thrilled to be here.
And so, Gabriel, you are the author of the acclaimed novel, My Absolute Darling, and I'm very excited to be with you today to talk about your new book, Crux, which will be released on January 21st. And I'm clearly not the only one looking forward to it. I'm joined here on set by François Busnel, that we are also really glad to invite.
Thank you.
Welcome, François.
Thank you for having me, and especially to create this conversation with Gabriel. How you doing, Gabriel?
Oh man, I've missed you. I can't wait to hang out again as soon as I come back to France.
Long time to see. Would you say 8 years?
I think so. I think we met up in 2017.
Come on.
Yeah. So it's been a while.
What did happen to your hair? Because
I shaved it off during the pandemic.
okay.
Was that a mistake? I shaved it off during the pandemic, and it just never gone back because it's just one. I like it. It's just wonderfully convenient.
Yeah, you're great. You look great, man.
Yeah. Oh, thanks.
Really?
Yeah, I was taking care of kids all the time, and I just wasn't doing a good job of keeping my hair clean, so I cut it all off.
Now you look like a real climber.
Yeah, I'm trying. I'm always trying to look that way because I don't know if I climb like it.
Yeah, and I got your hair, with my beard.
Yeah.
So I presented you, Gabriel, but not you, François. So the French audience knows you for your work as a journalist, but we'll soon discover your work as a film director. But here at Gallmeister, we know you as the very first French reader of My Absolute Darling. It was in 2018, and at the time, nobody in France heard about Gabriel Tallent. So how did the manuscript find its way to you?
Oh, it's quite a long story, but I'll try to sum it up. First of all, I have to apologize for my English, Gabriel, because I do not practice as I used to, so I'm a little bit rusty. But you'll try to figure out what I'm saying, as you did.
I will. I was trying to practice my French, but then when my kids were born, I no longer got to it. But I'm recommitting. I'm going to try and really dial in some French.
You should try to speak French right now, because we have to say that actually Gabriel knows perfectly French, so you can understand. Right?
No, I speak no French. I'm so bad at languages, but I want to learn.
You did study French.
I was practicing French before Hayden was born, and then once Hayden was born, it took away all my time.
Yes, but the thing is that it's with languages, you have to practice daily. If you don't, you're just rusty as I am. So
we can switch to French, or?
Well, we got to do it now. But I'll start practice. It'll be a New Year's resolution. French this year.
Good, great.
Okay, great.
Yeah, I take you up on that.
Okay.
Well, to answer your question, actually, I think that back in the days, I was very involved in American literature. And this was just, I was involved in literature. I was doing this show, La Grande Librairie, which was a weekly show. And the aim of the show was mainly to introduce new writers, not only discuss with all the great writers. And I remember that by the time I went to the US, and I had a very long, we did a series of documentaries actually, crossing the USA and meeting more than 45 writers in the place they used to live. And to me, that's very important to have a conversation which is not only a conversation in the studio. When you go and have a meeting with the writer in the place where he belongs to, where he used to live, he used to write, you can enter his mind. You can enter his world, and it's, to me, absolutely fascinating. And Oliver told me, I didn't know Oliver at all, actually. Probably I met him twice before, because I tried to be not very close to the publishers. Yeah. This is my job, to be a journalist, so you don't have to be, with all the people like this. And well, he just sent me Gabriel's book, actually, just like a very good publisher. He just said, "Oh, I know that you sometimes go to the US for the show," and by the days, I think I was still running a magazine called Lire, which is a monthly French magazine about literature. And I run the magazine for 10 years, more than 12, I think. And I was really looking at what was happening, by the time, because, well, a new generation was raising in the US. And I was I was trying to understand many, many things in politics. And I still think, maybe we'll talk about it, that literature is a great way to understand the world. And he just sent me the book. And I perfectly remember that the book was on my table, for something like probably 2 weeks. And one day, the phone rang, and Oliver Gallmeister was on the phone and said, "Did you read the book I sent you?" I said, "No, not yet, man. I have works to do, I have a weekly show, this is a lot of reading." He said, "François, I just ask you, I never ask you anything," which is true. Have a look on the book. If it's not a good book, no matter. If you love the book, and I think you will, we can probably go and meet this young writer, because he is going to be one of the most important writers in the US. And I said, I knew Oliver, on reputation, and I know that he's not that kind of publisher who is, bullshitting you all the time. I have to say that in France, well, sorry for this, but we were on the podcast. Most of the publishers are just like in the US, they are bullshitters. So everything is fantastic, everything is marvelous, everything is brilliant. And okay, I'm bored with this. So I said, okay. So I remember that I took the book. It was early in the morning, and I read the book in a single way. And I was fascinated by everything. The story first, the way Gabriel wrote the story, the style, and mainly the fact that, to me, this book was something from Cormac McCarthy, William Faulkner, Jim Harrison, probably the book written by a very experimented man. So I thought that probably Gabriel Tallent was something like 50, 60 years old. And then after, I just pick up the phone and said, "Oliver, who's this guy? It's fantastic. It's brilliant. I absolutely want to meet him." He said, "Okay." So we were something like December. We can go and meet him beginning of next year in something like 2-3 weeks. But you have to go in Joshua Tree Park, South California. I said, "Yeah, come on, let's go there." So that was the beginning of the story. But the very beginning of the story is that he just sent me the book. I just read the first page. And when you start reading My Absolute Darling, I think that no one can escape this. It's a trap, and he's a master. And if you turn the first page, the second page, and you're in. You are with Turtle. And, well, this is how it began.
So you mentioned Joshua Tree, and thank you for that, because actually Crux is partly set in Joshua Tree.
And I love it.
And actually, I saw your interview. It's great. I love it. Please, people, watch it. And you also mentioned, Gabriel, your climbing sessions. So I wondered, did you already have Crux in mind at this precise moment when you met?
Did I already have Crux in mind when I met François? No, I came to Crux through like a long period of lostness, trying to figure out how to write a climbing novel. And originally I wrote a climbing novel set here in Utah about climbers sort of in the prime of their career, working climbs at sort of the cutting edge of the sport. And when I read it, it left me cold. I worked on that novel for a long time, really searching for a way to unlock it. And it didn't look like I was ever going to be able to produce a climbing novel. And then after Hayden was born, I spent a lot of time. The way writers talk about kids is so misleading, because everyone tells you that kids are going to ruin your writing life. They destroy your career. Every kid costs you a book is something that every writer tells you. But I had this experience of holding Hayden for the first time and really thinking about what would matter in a life and what I would tell him would matter. And so I realized that I'd fucked up on the book, the climbing book. I realized I messed up on the book and written a book about sort of career success and cutting edge climbing, which I didn't really care about. And I wanted to go back and write a book about passion and dreams and pursuing what matters in your life. And so that's why I wrote Crux. So I didn't come to Crux for a long time. Does that make sense?
Completely. Yes, because talking with Oliver Gallmeister, he told the team actually that you wrote so many different drafts of this book. Like, you changed characters, plots. Can you tell us what you erased, what you kept?
I mean, I wrote a 900-page novel and scrapped it. And then I wrote many different versions of this, taking the characters through all the stages of their life. And then after Hayden was born, and I did that revision, it's I thought a lot about what had been only a small interlude in the original book that talks about sort of their childhood as friends dreaming about becoming climbers before they actually became climbers. And it was only 20 pages of the original draft. And I expanded that out into this book that you now have as Crux. I don't know. So 15 or 16 drafts.
Wow.
Something like that.
Okay.
Throwing it away each time and then rewriting it from the blank page.
That's huge. That's really impressive. And
when did you start writing this book? I was wondering, because my absolute darling was, as I said, it's a masterpiece. But I was reading the book. I was wondering, is there something autobiographical with Alexandra, who is able to write a novel when she's very young? I think she's 19. She writes the first novel. She has a huge success all around the world. She writes another one, and writer's block. And then it ends. And then it's exactly the opposite. That's what you said. There's a kid. She has to raise the kid in the middle of nowhere with a husband who doesn't.
Yeah, Francois, you're brutal and great. So
I'm sorry for this.
Yeah. Alexandra's profound depression and lostness is autobiographical to me and to sort of my terror. So I wrote a climbing book that didn't work. I wrote a book about cardiothoracic nursing that my editor didn't buy. And so because after My Absolute Darling, I was just My Absolute Darling wrecked me. I was in such a terrible depression after that book. And
really?
It took me, because I went into My Absolute Darling with personal experiences and with insight into life that I thought that I could put into a book, and I thought it would help one person. I thought I would publish this small book and somebody might read it on the bus going to school and it might help them. It might help, that's who I was writing for in my head. 1 or 2 readers. And if you reach them, it's a success. And then many more people responded to the book than I was expecting. And people told me their stories. I went everywhere and people told me their stories, and it was crushing. I mean, it is crushing to hear. And I think, I kind of struggled to cope with that a a little bit. And so I was wrecked after that book. And it took me, I guess, a couple of years to sort of climb out of that and really begin working in a way that mattered. And then I wrote sort of these 2 failed books. We were running out of money. It didn't look like I was really a writer. It didn't look like I really had it to write another book. And we had Hayden, and sort of the amount of money that we had to support me continuing to write was just running out. So it was like, you have one shot at telling a story that matters, or you're going, you know, I was hitting up friends for jobs at E-Trade. Like I was really thinking about leaving the profession.
Really?
And yes. And because it had been, I mean, time was ticking up. It was 6 years. It was 7 years. Things were not coming together for me. I'd written these failed books. And so that's sort of the nightmare of letting my family down, letting myself down as a storyteller. So it's autobiographical in a way that has not so far quite come true. But yes, that's the terror of myself being a failed writer. Does that make sense?
It makes sense. And I think that's the terror of everyone who writes, who creates, actually. And I'm sorry for being brutal, but I'm brutal because you are in your books. And I think you get the point. This is very important to say that. What you said is absolutely important, because most of the writers, they want to be brilliant. And they don't say that. They never say that. So that's important that, Louise, we can hear a great writer who, at some point, has that kind of doubt, wreck, right after publishing a great book, even if it's the first one. So, thank you for sharing this, Gabriel, actually. And I think this could be very helpful for many, many young writers who are trying to do the second book or the third book, I don't know, whatever,
Yes, it was really hard to not have this link in mind while reading the book when we discover Dan's mother character. And it's a huge subject about how it is risky to be in a creative career in the book. And even as a reader, we can easily connect to this subject. And there is another subject that is also really interesting, actually, in Crux, is the impact of choices. Because Dan and Tamma, that are the main characters of the book, are making choices to choose if they will believe their own path, or if they will just choose the life adults already decided for them, or society. So I was wondering, maybe all teenagers have to do this kind of choice. You as teenagers, did you have this kind of dilemma, a choice to do, and does it have an impact actually on your adult life?
Yeah, I think for me it came after college. Like, it didn't quite come as a teenager. I mean, I did have this. So when I was going to college, when I was first starting college, I really debated. Like, I did a summer in Yosemite and met a climber there, just a friend. But she, I considered just like never going back to school and just staying in Yosemite, but I didn't quite see how it's possible. And she was like, well, you would just scrub toilets. You would just stay here in the park and scrub toilets and live on nothing. And I didn't do it at the time because I had books I wanted to go back and learn about, but it always stuck in my head as there are options out there that don't always appear possible. Right? It was like a choice that I didn't quite take, but it just echoed in my mind. And then when I graduated school, when I graduated from college, I was under, I don't quite want to say pressure, but everyone expected of me that I would go on to graduate school because I was a very committed and hardworking student, and people thought that I would succeed doing cultural history of the 18th century and become a professor. Because it looked like the clear path for me. And at that point, that's when I circled back and I was like, no, I'm gonna take that time off and write a novel. And I did. I ended up like getting a job at Target, scrubbing toilets, and writing a novel. And that's what became my absolute darling. So yeah, that juncture just came for me a little later.
Interesting.
What about you, François?
I think, well, of course, I was in that case. I mean, but not only as a teenager. I think we all, during all your life, you have to make choice. You have to face different realities, actually. And I just noticed, I think it's page 149. Sorry, I remember my old job, you know. I think it's Tamma who says to Todd, she says something like, sorry for the translation, I read it in French. You could contain multitude if only you agree to let him in. To me, it echoes to Walt Whitman, you know, I contain multitude. Remember this, of course, the great poet.
Yeah.
And to me, when I was a kid, when I was a teenager, actually, I read for the first time Whitman, probably when I was 15, 14, after...
What a time to read Whitman.
Yeah. Don't you think it's the best time to read it?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
And I said, oh, yeah, this is exactly me. I don't want to make any choice in my life. And you are surrendered by people, the teachers, your parents, who said, you have to make a choice. You have to make a decision right now. But you're, 15, 14, you're a girl, you're a boy, wherever you live, you're not able to make a decision for your entire life. It makes no sense, actually. So I remember that when I first read Whitman, and that line, I contain multitude, I said, wow, this is the story of a man who made the decision. The only choice he did was to make no choice, right? To say, no, I don't want to make a choice. I want to live all the lives I can. So, of course, by the time you have to do that, you you cannot be only a man of multitude. And, I made the choice first to be a journalist because this was the choice who meant go out, get out, don't stay here, don't stay in France, go and cross the world and listen to the people and become who you have to be. And then I made the choice because I'm still a teenager in a way. A couple of years ago, I said, okay, I had a great life doing this job. I mean, 30 years of journalism. And then I've been doing, the show for something like 15 years on TV. Okay, I could do it for 15 more years. Am I going to be better? No, I don't think so. My best friend is called Peter, the principal of Peter. So I know that I won't be better. And I don't want to be on the podium. This is exactly the theme of the book to me. Do you make the choice for being the best, for being on the podium, to stand on the podium or not? And I said, okay, I have to make a choice. I can do the same TV show for 15 more years. But I'm a lucky man. I did it. I just climbed this, And to me, climbing is a kind of metaphor of life and metaphor of the choices we have to face and to make. And why do you climb? Why do you do what you are doing? Why do you write? Why are you doing this job, Louise? What are you waiting for? What are you looking for? What are you hoping? And I said, okay, probably there is something I would like to do. Filmmaker, telling stories. I'm still young. I just turned 53. So it's now, right now. Of course, if I make this choice, I probably will earn less money than before. So, okay, let's be brutal. It's something interesting. You have to say money is not all, not everything. So, okay. And probably success won't be there, because it's very hard. Nobody was waiting for you. Actually, I know that. I don't know how to do this. I just have to learn. I just have to have the good crash pad and to buy the good rope. And if someone says, I'm going to buy you a rope. Oh, gosh. I know that because I read the book. Please don't be ashamed and say yes. Never say no because you're ashamed of something. Yeah, and I think that making the choice depends on the people you meet. And I had great meetings. I met some great people who said, okay, we saw the documentary you did. We saw the film you did, which were, well, this documentary was Jim Harrison called Seule la terre est éternelle in France. And it was for the theaters. And some producers said, okay, we trust you. Do you want to make a feature film? Let's do it right now. And the choice is, am I gonna go? This is a kind of risk, adventure. No one is safe. No one is sure. No success, no money. Well, I don't care. I don't care because I know that I belong in the place which is the land of no choices. I want to live an entire life with all the possibles. So because I contain multitude as well as Tamma, And I love, I don't want to spoil anything, but by the way, I really, really love the last chapter, the last lines with Tamma. We don't have to spoil this, but please, readers, go. Well, I think any kind of reader will go very fast to the end of the book. And I think the good answer, Louise, is the 20 last line of the book.
But read the rest of the book first.
Yes, sure.
And sorry to go back to basics, but so we talked about Dan, we talked about Tamma, we didn't talk about the plot, so we know those teenagers a bit now. But Gabriel, to stay on the choices, why did you choose to tell their stories, Dan and Tamma's stories?
For me, the heart of the book was these two kids. I wanted to write a book about friendship, and I wanted to write a book about these two kids who are going out climbing and they're having an experience of the sublime, an experience of meaning that is missing from the rest of their lives. I wrote the book in the midst of the pandemic and at a moment in my career where I'm seeing a lot of my peers fail out of the profession or lose hope in the profession, which is a weird disjuncture because when I meet people and I tell them that I'm a writer, so many people want to be writers, right? Mm-hmm. It's like the dream of so many people. And yet many of my peers are failing out of it. And I think I'm at a moment in my life where many people come to a head and despair and lose sight and give up or take their own lives. And so I'm sort of witnessing the collapse of some of the people closest to me. And yet I have a kid, and I believe in this sort of hope and meaning of the world. And so I wanted to write about these two kids who are having this experience of the sublime, and they're chasing it, right? They're chasing it. They want it for their lives. And yet the stakes are incredibly high. I think, as Americans, we sometimes sink into this narrative that if you have a dream, you should pursue it. And if you just pursue it, everything will work out. And I don't believe that's true. I believe the question is thornier than that. So I want the stakes to be high. What do you do when you have a dream and yet the consequences for failure are disastrous? And I wanted to pursue that story because I think it's a meaningful story. And I think many people live a version of that. And some people end up hedged into lives they don't like. Hedged into lives for which they feel no hope or meaning or aliveness, right? And so it seemed to me an important story, a meaningful story. It was a story at least that I cared a great deal about. And it was the kind of story that I wanted to tell, having a kid, because I was thinking a lot about what I would articulate to Hayden means, what is meaningful in the world. And I wanted to chase that in the book. So that's why I told this. Do you also want the elevator pitch? Do you want to know the plot as well? I sum it up. My one-liner is that it's James Salter's Solo Faces meets Dude, Where's My Car?
I like it. Yeah.
Actually,
you're right. It reminds Solo Faces by James Salter. Yeah, great
Yeah,
novel.
with a little bit of silliness thrown in.
Yeah.
When readers ask about the plot, what I tell them is that it's about Dan and Tamma, two kids who creep out their bedroom windows at night to go climb boulders in the dark together in a sort of unglamorous parking lot. And they dream of running away to become professional climbers, escaping their circumstances. But they're in their last year of high school. And as adult reality looms, life intervenes in ways that are going to test not only their friendship, but their will to stay alive.
Good. Yeah.
Sounds great. Well, I already read it, but sounds great.
Would you, Gabriel, would you add that this book is as well a kind of metaphor of the life, climbing as a metaphor of life, or not?
Yeah, I think so. I'm
How far?
finding my experience as a young writer. And so I wanted to write about chasing a dream, but in a way that would be not just narrowly a climbing novel, but a story about passion,
Exactly.
about grasping at a life that is more than what you have, about holding on to the person you dream of being.
Yeah, and probably we should specify that it's not exactly for climbers. This is not a book for climbers only. I mean, if you have never climbed anything except your dreams or your job, you can easily read it, right?
Yeah, so I was a parent falling like reading 15 pages and falling asleep. And I love those books that you can just sink into, right? That aren't elusive, aren't cold. They give you something, a little bit of generosity. And I wanted to write that way, in a way that would be legible to anyone who hasn't climbed before. I just wanted you to feel welcomed into the world of the book without the book being too cold or too technical or too cool to be accessible.
Yeah, but it's not that technical. And there's one thing very important to me reading the book is that when you climb, I never climbed. I remember when we were with Gabriel in Joshua Tree Park, we were doing the interview, but I wanted to be down.
We invited
on the
you out
ground.
climbing.
Yeah, yes.
Yeah.
We were supposed to be on the ground, in the desert with the Joshua trees, with, all the cactus and so on. And Gabriel was answering the questions, but he was looking at, all the time he was looking at the beautiful stones. And I said, "Do you want to climb up there?" And he said, "Yeah." So remember that by the end of the interview, we did it with the crew. We had a small crew, and we made a part of the interview not very high, but we went on a rock, and he was like this. "Oh yeah, fantastic!" So it's great to read the book set in the place we first met, you and I. But there's something very important to me in this book is the idea that when you're a teenager, when you're a kid, and when you are raised in a very poor family, which is Tamma's and Dan's case, actually, you sometimes feel that there is a secret in life, and you have to chase not only the success, you have to chase that kind of secret. And Dan he finds out that there is no secret in life. This is his own version of life. And I really love those pages about Dan because he's wrecking as well. He go deep down, actually. It seems to me that he's the kind of teenager who's at the very beginning thinks he could be someone, and when his mother is going very deep down, he goes too, actually. Is there a kind of secret in life we have to discover, Gabriel Tallent?
I mean, I think that's something with he's reckoning with. Like, Dan is suffering through the profound onset of major depression, right? Like a major depression that took from his mother many of her dreams. And so he's grappling with how you find your way out of that. And a big factor here is that he feels forced into going to college and to pursuing a job, which is not a life that he wants for himself. And so a dilemma, a crossroads, a crux for him is whether to pursue the life that he has been given or the life for which he feels aliveness and hope, but which offers sort of no security, no clear success. It's not clear how he actually would do it. It doesn't seem entirely possible.
Yes, but when you are climbing, you have to find a path.
Yeah.
Which is
I think
probably
that is
the key. isn't it?
Yes, climbs often look impossible from the bottom. And it is only in trying them again that they become possible. In some way, the hope and belief that they are possible are necessary to completing them, to making them possible. Like you have to dream of your ability to complete a climb before you find the strength and the technique to actually do it.
And there is also another aspect, actually, on climbing that I love in this book, is that first, when you are not a climber, when you do not climb, maybe you can think first that we are all equal in front of the wall. And to raise to the top, you just have to challenge yourself, and that's it. And actually, in your book, what I felt is that maybe we are not all equal in front of nature, of wilderness, and actually life, if we follow the metaphor you mentioned. I love this aspect in it. Do you think we are in front of a wall all equal, or not really?
I'm not entirely sure what you mean.
Sorry.
No. I mean, but like, let me take a stab at it. Which is that I think oftentimes in these narratives there is a preoccupation with brilliance, right? There's a sort of like when we set out to read a book about climbing or something like that, we oftentimes expect brilliance from the protagonists. And that's not the case here. They're sort of working class kids, and they're not clearly brilliant climbers destined for greatness, which is oftentimes the narrative. It's the narrative in Solo Faces that the character is a sort of a brilliant natural talent. And so I think, like, as Americans, oftentimes that's what we're looking for meaning. Like, does climbing have any meaning if you're not the best in the world, if you're not a genius at it, if you're not brilliant at it, if you're not doing it at the highest levels? And I think that misses the point. That's not actually our experience of climbing, and it isn't our experience. I have seen people attain the highest levels of their profession and get the greatest accolades and the biggest awards, and we're out drinking afterwards, and they're just complaining that they didn't get the award earlier. You know, you see people sucked into it and ruined by it. And I don't know that I think that greatness, you're chasing something illusory. It's never going to be enough. Like, I had that experience and I thought, it's no amount of fame, no accolade, no award. It was never going to fill that hole. It can't be what we're chasing. And so when we tell these stories about great geniuses climbing or playing chess, I think there's a sleight of hand. It deceives you in where importance lies and where meaning lies, right? Like, you enjoy reading a book not because you're the best reader in the world, but because you're having that important experience and because you're bringing yourself to it. And I think that's true of climbing. An annoying thing climbers say is the best climber is the climber who's having the most fun, and it's true. Right? Like, that's what you're there to do in some ways. And when you lose sight of it, you lose the joy that is climbing.
Isn't it exactly the same for writer? I mean, if you are only devoted in a very serious way to your art, if you think that everything has to be serious and you don't have fun when you write, do you really think you can complete a book? You can release a film?
My personal opinion about it that I can't defend is I see writers sink into that and start writing for the critics, writing for style, chasing what a book should be instead of what they want, like chasing the ideal of a perfect book. And I think it's bad for I think it destroys your soul. I think it kills your writing. I think it's dead. I think it's beautiful and it's gorgeous and it's lauded and it is given awards and it is dead. It is lifeless and is not what you should spend your time doing. But that's just my personal opinion that I can't defend. But
I think you can.
But that's when I make bad writing decisions and I know that I'm writing something that critics will hate, when I feel myself making a weird move, that's how I justify it to myself, right? Because, like, this book has strange structure. And I was told at many points, I was advised towards the structure that would make it a big book, that would make it a commercial book, that would make it a success. These are the things you have to do. These are the things you have to change for the book to be successful. And at every point, I was like, no, because that's not the book I want to write. I want to write something weird and literary and playful. And the book has like weird, like strange moments, right? And I pursue that, and that's just a bedrock value that I have as an artist that I don't think I can defend. It just comes down to what I believe.
And I suppose that you meet the same troubles while making film.
It's exactly the same. And we were talking about making choices. This is the main choice. Perhaps the most important choice you have to do is this one to me. Do you want to follow the rules? But the rules, you never know if it is going to work. When they say, oh, you should do that if you want to have a large audience, or you should do that if you want to have a good review. You should write like this if you want to be read by other writers, Yeah, okay, come on. Are you really sure it's going to work? I'm not that sure. I'm sure that you won't be you. This won't be a book by Gabriel Tallent if you let someone tell you what you have to write, how do you have to do the structure. And this is exactly the same. Well, this is my first feature film, after about 12 documentaries. But this is very interesting because many people who want to help say, you have to do this, you should edit like this. Why talk... This character is too hard. This one is not enough, So you are tempted to hear them, of course, because they are great producers, they're great filmmakers, and they're your friends sometimes. But if you do listen to the people, this is exactly what Gabriel said. You will probably do something you perhaps will be on the podium. You stand on the podium, perhaps, maybe not. But to me, you are absolutely certain that it won't be you. You are not the real writer. You are not the real filmmaker. You are doing a product. Well, you can. Why not? Why not? I've been doing this for 15 years. And one day I said, I have to... This TV show has to be like I am. So I said, fuck the people who doesn't like it. I just want to be as I am, So when you are doing what we are doing, and Gabriel is a real artist, I'm not, and I'm not. No, really not. I know that what I'm saying. Really.
I don't think that's true.
No, I think it is. I'm not complaining, or I just say I'm learning, And I think there is something very important. You have to have fun. We were talking about this. If you play good, thinking that you have to be serious, to be just like... You're a student, but you can be a student all your life. I think it's not that interesting. I was not a good student. I was a passionate student. I'm a passionate reader. I need passion. To me, a good book, a great book is something that overwhelms me. And that book overwhelms me. And I'm not interested in, is this perfection? I don't think so. But I'm not looking for perfection when I'm reading a book or looking at a movie. I'm reading for life, for something that overwhelms me, And never let someone tell you how you should do some things. This is, I think, the only certitude we can have.
I'm jealous of what a good point that was. It's true. Like people do. They tell you what you need to do, and it's really impressive in the moment, and it doesn't always. You're right. It doesn't always work because otherwise, Hollywood would turn out nothing but great movies.
Sure.
And that's because they're following the formula, and that's not actually the course of it, right? The great movies are exceptional and oftentimes break with the formula.
And there's another point. I think if you do that, okay, let me put it this way. You can have success, but who are you? Where are you? You're just a machine. You're just an AR. You see what I mean? To me, My Absolute Darling and Cruz are two kind of books who are not predictable. You cannot, you never say, you never know what's going to happen. And yes, sometimes I was a little bit surprised by the structure you chose. And I said, oh, yes, but I love it. I need to be surprised. I don't want a book. This is very funny because Dan's father is, I don't know if he's a good father. What is a good father? This is a question for Gabriel Tallent in his books. But one thing is very sure. He's a good husband. When his wife, Alexandra, the writer, is at the hospital, he's there, stand by her. But he's reading books, not Gabriel Tallent's book, not Jim Harrison's book, Dean Koontz' book. That's very interesting because Koontz, to me, is exactly that. No offense, I don't want to be rude, but that the kind of books a PC, a computer can write, And again, no offense, this is the plot, this is very simple, the structure is clear, but this is not exactly the kind of books we need if we want to climb higher, if we want to go high. What do you think? Why is Dean Koontz in your books?
Because Dean Koontz has written a little bit about the area, and because I don't know why, but also because my dad is a great reader of Dean Koontz, so it just felt right, it just like intuitively felt right. But I think something you're saying is true, right? Is like, it is one of the differences between literary fiction and genre fiction, which is that in genre fiction, you're supposed to understand the move. You're supposed to understand the structure. And in literary fiction, the structure is supposed to surprise you. The move is, there isn't, in a literary romance, there isn't necessarily a clinch. There isn't necessarily the expected beats. And those disruptions.
And no explanation, no statements.
And those explanations can be upsetting or great, or they can disappoint us, right? It makes it thornier than what we're getting with genre fiction, which can be something a little bit more predictable.
Yes,
and again, I think it's interesting. With Tamma and Dan are wounded people, and that's very interesting. And when you turn the pages, you're more and more interested in the wounds. And it's interesting because Tamma, she doesn't want, to me, she's the kind of girl who doesn't want anyone to know about her wounds except Dan. And she, at the end of the book, she starts to say, okay, if you don't warn yourself when you are climbing, who are you? You're not a good climber. The good climber is not the one who is standing in the podium, right? But probably the one who had fun doing the climb.
Yeah.
Who went, probably failed. There are failures, wounds. Okay, what the matter? You just have to admit that if you are not wounded, you're not the good climber.
Yeah.
You don't need to be the perfect climber.
I think something that is important to think about with Tamma is that we are not entitled to climb better than everyone else, right? We're not entitled to a sort of uncontested greatness in climbing or producing a movie or writing. We have to write as well as we can, and you get it or you don't, and the meaning of it doesn't hinge on the podium, can't hinge on the podium, or you'll never do it at the highest levels. You'll never do it as well as you want to do it.
But the interesting point to me is that Tamma has to face the current society and a kind of injunction, we should say in French, une injonction. You have to be in the performance. You have to perform. You have to be the best. You have to show, on this.
Yeah.
That you've been on the top of the princess of what? Or the figure of a landscape. You have to, you make some selfie, but you don't do anything.
How do you say the name of that climb in French?
La princesse du doigtage?
Yeah, we have some really great translators at Gallmeister.
What's the name in English?
Finger Bang Princess.
Oh, the figure bang.
Yeah,
Sure.
so that's it.
A good translation.
We get the idea.
But you have to learn that in French when you'll be in France next May. Princesse du doigtage. Repeat after me. Princesse du doigtage. That's great.
I'll work on that.
Yeah.
So, if I understand well, to enjoy what you do, you have to take risk. You have to stay passionate about what you do. So I have one more question for you two. What will be your next risky challenge? Gabriel, do you already have a new book in mind? And François, when will we get to see your films?
You go first. I'm
you
on
You
tenterhooks.
first.
I'm gripped about the films. I want to know.
come on.
Okay, I'll go first. I'll go first. Okay. I'm working on another book. I'm doing like a not quite straight genre, but for the first time, a thriller, which I've never done before.
Wow.
So I've been really reading a lot of noir fiction and really trying to learn the genre inside and out. I've been, I've read The Long Goodbye like 6 times now, and I'm writing a thriller about a young wildland firefighter who returns to his hometown to investigate the suicide of his best friend, and so it's kind of a gumshoe story about a heroic and impressive young man who's kind of looking into secrets in his small town community. And I'm excited about it, but very daunted at the new demands of genre and form. And I feel that the story carries a lot of responsibility to do well, if that makes sense.
So 20 drafts, 30 drafts.
How many? Yeah. Do you write daily by now?
I write every weekday. So the weekends I just spend with Hayden and Milo and Kobe and Hattie, my wife. I spend with the kids. But during the weekday, I write from 9 till 4, and I take a break to work out. So at some point I get stumped, and then I either go climbing or I lift weights, and then I come back to it.
And you, François?
Well, it's quite hard for me to speak about the movie because I'm doing the edits, and this is a long process. It's 6 months. It takes more than 6 months to do it. And we've just finished filming 2 months ago, less than 2 months ago, and I don't know when it's going to come out. Really, I really don't know. I'm in the middle of the process of making this first feature film. So this is very interesting because this is about what Gabriel said about risks and fears. So to me, perhaps this is the common point, and it's very interesting because that sometimes I said, a good friend said a couple of days ago, why did you had the stupid idea to become a filmmaker, man? I said, because I read too much good books. And my absolute darling of that kind of books, they are saying something which is, to me, very interesting, which is face your fears and take your own risks. And understand that life is not only standing on a podium again. There is something more important, which is, taking risks. So the risk is that it is something very, very far from what I did before. Very far. This is a story taking place in the wide open spaces, in the great outdoors. This is the story about a man I am not. He's passionate, he's in love with a woman. He has a young kid. He never wanted a kid. The kid is about 8. One day, he goes in the mountain just because a wolf was there, and he doesn't want to kill the wolf. He just wants to say, do not stay here. And when he comes back, his wife has gone. She's dead. So he's a widower with a kid he never intended to have. He didn't want to have a kid. He's a young man. What to do? Is nature a redemption or a kind of hostile place? And so on and so on. And I don't want to. I'm unable to sum it up just in one line, just like Gabriel brilliantly did. So I have to work on it. Yes, but
when you're in it, you can't sum it up.
no, I don't think so.
It's summing it up is something you do once it's done.
And to me, if I can sum it up, I don't need to do it.
Yeah.
More
I
than
agree.
this, I think if I can sum it up, well, I just have to write an essay or a piece. So this is exactly because I'm unable to sum it up that I felt the need to take the camera, to pick up a crew, and to do it with actors. Well, we'll see. We'll see.
So that's a huge risk. Thank you to you two for taking those risks. We cannot wait to see where that will lead us. In the
Good luck on it, Francois. I'm
Thank
excited
you.
for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And good luck for you.
Oh, thanks.
But I know it's going to be brilliant again.
Yes, can't wait. And well, in the meantime, I highly recommend everyone to read Crux,
La-voie.
la-voie in French, that is available in bookstores on January 21st. It's a great book. I hope we didn't
is.
spoil too much of it, but please enjoy. It's so great. It is available in English, but also in French in a translation by Laura Derajinski. Gabriel, François, a huge thank you for being with us
Thank you,
tonight.
Louise.
It was a great conversation, really.
And sorry for this poor English.
No, it was
Again.
perfect, really. And
Sorry for my poor French. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
next time in French.
Yeah, next time.
Yeah. And next time in Salt Lake City, perhaps, or if you come in France, stop by.
I'll meet you in France, or you can come back out to Joshua Tree.
I hope
We
so.
can put you on some climbs.
Yeah. Oh, come on. Yeah. I'm longing for.
For more information about Crux, feel free to follow us on Instagram, Facebook. You can visit our website, or you can just talk to your bookseller. Links are in the description below. We wish you great stories and see you soon in bookstores.